Oh, yes.
Can't see shit.
Good evening. Good Tuesday to everyone. Welcome to another edition of Free Thinkers. Your host, we in the building, live and in person. Q, Nikki,
In the building.
Denise in a remote location across the country. So, I'm going to let y'all know up front, we have potentially several technical issues that will happen, so we got to work through it. And that's why we got Denise here. So if we fall out for any reason, then Denise, she know how to hold it down. But yep. For those of you who don't know, this is Free Thinkers. This is an open forum. This is a debate group. Debate / discussion.
Do we have to call ourselves? Do you think
You
we have
don't
to
have to.
identify as a debate group?
Are we
We
a
have to
debate group?
identify.
So this is what I learned.
Is it possible for this to be on these two?
Yeah.
Can you?
Uh-huh.
Is that possible?
Absolutely. But it's gonna look a little weird because you're gonna be looking
Like the mirror?
no, you're just gonna be looking like away from it. But it's fine.
Q's got a great studio, y'all.
It's patchwork together, but
it's coming. I mean, from the
coming
time that
together.
you moved into right now, I mean, as soon as
Oh,
I
yeah.
walked in, I could tell the sound was different. You've definitely put. I see a picture of Denise on the wall.
Oh yeah,
Actually,
Oh, my
I got the
vinyl.
album. up there.
Actually, I see a picture of you up there in the corner.
Free Thinkers made the studio.
I mean, but it looks great in here. I mean, you
Oh,
definitely
thank you.
put. So I was kind of happy my phone was broken and my laptop don't work.
Yeah, you
Okay.
come through anytime.
Like-
It's all good. So let me get back to that. The reason I call it
A debate. Why we have to identify as a debate
right
group.
because after I do certain conversations with other people, other groups,
Mhm.
I realize that a lot of people are uncomfortable, like going back and forth.
But is that a debate per se? I mean,
It'll fall under the category of a debate. By the
can't
third
just be a
time we go back and forth,
conversation?
then it's a debate.
By the third or fourth time.
Like if I just spoke my piece and then you spoke your piece, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." Denise, what do you think? But it's like, nah. And then it's absolutely a debate. So I had to learn, even in the other group I do, like, yeah, Q, this is not a debate group. I'm like, yes,
Okay.
all right, whatever.
Okay.
I'm used to it.
Okay.
And you know what's funny? What really get funny is some of the people because I also do a singles group on Thursdays, and some of the people from that group have actually come to our live group as well. And,
and you don't have to name names, but like,
yeah, I'll tell you later. But it's funny.
Okay.
But no, what's funny is because then when I go back on,
they see a whole different you
oh
then.
yeah. But no, it's funny because on the Thursday group, then they see us going back and forth. They're like, hey, we don't need to fight. I'm like, we ain't fighting. I said, they've been to my debate group meeting, and now they done got comfortable going back and forth.
Right.
I'm like, this is how we talk. Ain't no issue.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
But anyway, it's
Okay.
it's definitely a distinction. It's probably crazy to you because probably the people in your circle, you just used to going back and forth with them like that, so you don't think anything of it. But a lot of people are uncomfortable being rebutted, refuted, told that they're wrong,
Challenged.
all of that stuff. A lot of people, they like,
But don't you think if you are an
about
individual
this,
who
think
is
about this,
invited
Rick.
to come into our space though, and you're coming to a group that's literally called Free Thinkers, like that might give you like an indicator that
maybe.
there's gonna be some rebuttal happening. Like these individuals may be willing to challenge, so I better come with
Possibly.
my facts and my I really better come
Or
with the shit.
they just saying I have the ability to think freely and let me get my free thoughts out.
And then just go on.
Right, they didn't expect me to challenge. So think about this. I just thought about something. When was the last time in your circle that you've heard someone say, well, we'll just agree to disagree? Don't happen a lot, do it?
No.
In a lot of circles, I hear that often. Whenever I'm talking in circles that I'm not really a part of a lot of time. All right, well, by the second time somebody go, all right, well, we just agree to disagree. That means I'm uncomfortable with where the conversation is going. But we don't get that uncomfortable where the conversation going. So, like, you will never hear me say we just agree to disagree. I'm going to tell you wrong until one of us run out of breath.
No, not necessarily always.
Or until I say, okay, I see what you're saying. Or it's like, okay. But I don't get tired of going
keep
back
going
and forth.
until we get tired. Or
Right,
until
exactly.
we ran the topic into the ground and we're like, we need to move on.
I mean, but if somebody keeps bringing up relevant points, like why would I not refute those? Why would I not? There's got to be a rebuttal to some of those things.
I'm just telling you, some people get uncomfortable in not even if they're the ones being challenged. Some people are uncomfortable in the presence of, like, the way that we talk. Some people will get uncomfortable with that.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah, no, I don't.
And I'm saying we not those people. So I do let them know, like, this is a debate/discussion group.
Okay.
So keep in mind, just come with your thoughts. Your thoughts may be challenged. Feel free to jump on. Make sure that you like, share, and follow us. If you go to our Facebook page, that's where you can find the link. I don't know.
It should be pinned up at the top.
It'll be pinned up at the top. If you've never been on StreamYard before, it's very simple. Just click on it, follow the instructions. It'll let you in. We'll see you, and we'll let you in. Keep in mind, this is adult content, and adult language. So make sure you are in the presence of people who you don't mind hearing that type of language. And also, if you get on, make sure you got something in your ears where you can hear.
Please.
And Nikki don't like that background noise. So
turn that shit down.
So yeah, but outside of that, then we just jump in and we're gonna have a good conversation. So, I want to make sure I can see if there's anybody. Okay, so yeah, last Thursday we had our live Tuesday. Thank you. Last Tuesday we had our live in-person meeting, and it was a very good meeting. I think I pushed Nikki's buttons to the extreme. Nikki was like, I'm done with this. Nikki.
What did y'all talk about?
Social engineering. So we've kind of realized that what we're doing is, like, when we do our last Tuesdays, whatever topic that we did that night, we'll do it the following Tuesday immediately with everybody live. That way anybody who really wanted to maybe participate, who couldn't, can. But then just because, live people don't get the opportunity to do the in-person stuff, so we still want to have the topic discussion because it's still good.
Denise. We do it for you, Denise.
We know.
I love you guys too.
So, and I don't think that we really covered social engineering terribly greatly last week. So this could be an opportunity to actually cover it.
It depends. It's the angle that you want to go from it. Like, what angle do you want to tackle when you're talking about social engineering? Because even when I looked at a lot of clips and views, because when Nikki proposed the topic, I'm like, I don't think I know what social engineering is. I feel like
we talk about it a lot here.
In what way? Denise, tell me what.
Because I'm always bringing up social engineering, especially with social media. It's just like the whole concept of, like, how you say you don't want to debate with people anymore because everybody thinks the same. That's social engineering via social media. That's like,
so okay, so that's an element of it, Denise. Yeah. That's what I thought when I heard the term, but when I actually went on YouTube and start Googling the definition, is really talking about more cyber attacks, spam, phishing, things like that.
Well, things that can manipulate your mind. I mean, things that have a heavy manipulation, social engineering is literally, I mean, you think about the word engineering. So something is truly designed to route your thought process, your actions, your behaviors a certain way. Like, that is a heavy power, whatever that may be. So social engineering, be it through social media or, other methods that have come before social media, right? It's like, it's not like this is the first time in human history that we've been like pushed one way or another, right? Or tried to be driven one way or another. But
so is social engineering any different than We on the screen over to my left, they got the presidential debate, like just general
That whole
cable
shit's social.
propaganda.
Yeah, well, we know
Yes.
this. I mean, you
It's the same thing.
propaganda,
It's
so you
social,
already know it's social engineering.
But is it different though, or is it just just a new age form of?
I feel like it's probably the same word, social engineering and propaganda and things. I think that those are. I think they all come. I feel like they're all the same thing. They serve the same purpose. They're just maybe different modalities.
But we have a new element of AI involved in it as
which
well.
Which makes it exponentially fucking more dangerous than what it was before. So now you can't believe anything. Literally, you can't believe the shit that you see unless you've seen it with your own two eyes or you heard it with your own two ears. Because now things can be so easily manipulated that it's like, I can't believe shit that they show me anymore. And you can't believe shit that you read really anymore because you see how easy it is to rewrite history or change history.
Go ahead, Denise.
I think yes, definitely all the same family, because I feel like it's used for the same means. Like, I want a group of people to think like this so that they can then do X, Y, or Z. And that is the whole sole purpose of me trying to basically manipulate their minds into believing a certain thing and have this same, agree with the same idea so that I can get them to do this thing. There is an end for it. It's not just to get people to think that way because you want people to think better about something. No, there is an end. There's a means to an end with this thing.
I have a thought, but let me re-ask you based off a statement you just said. What is the primary purpose for social engineering in the way that we're talking about it right now, in your opinion?
Oh, I have an answer for that.
I mean, for me, this is going to be very stereotypical of me, but I mean, it all goes back to like capitalism. It's all about money. It is always about money. Always about money. When I tell you, they have, so there's a thing, I'll just give you a quick example. They've brought up this, there's a rat issue in New York. There's been a rat issue in New York. I mean, what do you think they based Ninja Turtles off of? Master Splinter was a rat that lived, you know what I mean? In the sewer. Like, rats have been a thing in New York. And it's like, to me, it hasn't been a bigger issue than it had been before. That's just what it is. Well, guess what? They have now passed some law to where they can give the rats birth control. So who y'all think is getting paid? Because that's all I care about. Who's getting paid?
How are they gonna give it to these rats? It's gonna come.
They're just gonna put it everywhere, and then
so they're gonna dirty up the food. They're gonna dirty up the fucking water. Like, so now we're gonna by default, not y'all, us, y'all, by default are gonna be sucking the birth control water. I'm sorry. I mean,
but don't you think that's interesting? That's that they made it seem like there's such a big problem.
Of course.
There's a big problem with the rats. Stop.
Yeah, you gotta get rid of them. Well, hell, let them people fry them up and eat them. Shit.
So it's propaganda. Because why else? Because then who's paying for it? Who's paying for the birth control?
The taxpayer has to pay for that. But so you can give them to rats, but you can't give them to humans who are asking for them. So where's PETA? PETA should be flexing. Like, y'all are poisoning the rats.
But you see how you can create, like, and then on top, so then another aspect of it is they cut funds from sanitation. Oh, wow. So you're cutting funds from sanitation. That means it's affecting the trash being picked up. That means maybe there really is more rats, maybe not. But you're creating this idea to make people be okay with this thing, because the end is either you are trying to do what? Make some money and stop people from having kids or whatever it is. So, I mean, that's just my opinion of how you can make a person believe a certain thing to get them to agree to do another thing.
Yeah, because nobody in New York who knows that this is happening. Like, when I read this article either yesterday or today, like, my first thought was, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, there's no way that people are gonna allow this to happen. So there's no way that you
Why wouldn't they? Ooh, God.
Because there's just to me, there's nobody that could think that this is a wise decision of all the decisions that could be made.
This is Diddy.
No.
This Diddy all over again. You want me to tell you how this Diddy?
No. God.
Because people hate rats.
Well, of course.
Oh,
But
I know. So
still.
it's easier to get when the overall majority of people hate a thing. It's easy to get something passed or moved through because nobody's going to give you any real pushback to rats. Now, if you start putting birth control on dogs or horses or some type of animal that people
The rats
actually
is
like,
just the open door to the next level of shit to happen.
just like Diddy,
so-
just like Diddy. That's my point. You find somebody that people overall do not like. They can't stand. They never liked them in the first place. So whatever we do, even if we skate the law, even if we don't do things properly, we don't even follow the law, we kind of manipulate the rules. It's okay because we never liked them in the first place.
People are stupid. That's why we're in trouble. Because it's that thought process of, oh,
Yeah.
it's fine because it's that. No, it's not fine because of that. Look what
They
they just
always
did.
think
Look what
about
they
this.
did to people during COVID. They forced people to get stuff put into their body that they didn't want to have in there.
When you go
It wasn't
back
an
in,
option. And people just fucking, all right, well, fine. Oh, that's fine. That's because you said so.
just when
Like,
you
it's
go
the
back
same
in the
shit.
90s, look at the crime bill. How did they pass the crime bill? Because these thugs, these super predators,
Mhm.
and all of these, we don't like them in the first place. We want them out of our communities.
Shout out
We
Kamala.
wanted the drug dealers out of our communities, but still wasn't thinking about these are our sons also. And we're not thinking about how are the drugs actually getting into our neighborhood, which, you know, no repercussions from that, which we found out it was even the government doing that in the first. But what I'm saying is they got those laws to pass because those were the deplorables in our neighborhoods, and the white, nobody liked them anyway. So it's easy to do a broad sweeping law and everybody sign up on it. Same
with
thing
the
happens
Patriot
over
Act.
and over. People don't pay attention.
Well, so if the same thing happens over and over, well, fuck, then we obviously have to expect that the same things are going to keep happening because we're not doing anything differently to change the outcome because we keep doing the same shit every time. Like,
No, but that's where
yes,
social. No,
that's social engineering, thinking that you fucking can't, which is why I am so happy for these 47,000 ship workers, these port workers. I'm so happy that they have decided to say, fuck it. We'll go without for however long we gotta go without. And if we gotta if we gotta cripple this bitch out, we'll cripple it out. Like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Like, we're
I
gonna
don't think people understand how powerful the media is, though. That's
well, I mean,
Go ahead, Denise.
Well, if we're gonna go through history, the port workers can very well do this, but then if they can get another group to cross that picket line,
sure.
then it, you know. But
Sure.
also, I'll say this: as far as like the rats having birth control, I didn't even know that was something that was on the docket. Like, I didn't know this was something that
Had they been talking about this amongst y'all? Like, in, you know, like, had y'all been hearing about this? Like,
I haven't heard about it. Granted, I'm not the one to ask because y'all know. But I haven't heard anything until it got passed. And then it was like, hold on, wait, what? Is this even a thing? It's like, out of all the things in New York that y'all want to work on, that y'all want to pass laws for and bills for, it's the rats. It ain't the housing issue. It ain't that. It ain't that
how are they gonna give it? I can see them exterminating, spraying neighborhoods with aerosol birth control spray all over the rat infested areas and the garbage heaps that they now won't let sanitation go fucking pick up. Woo. Like, it's going to create illness. That's what's going to happen.
I'm saying that's the weird thing, though. Like, when it comes to ants, wild. Do we do birth control for fire ants? Do we do birth control for mosquitoes? No, we kill them.
Oh, they've been spraying for mosquitoes too.
Yeah, but a lot of the stuff that we're using to kill those things is fucking killing us, though, too, in turn, Monsanto and every product that they put out.
I'm just saying, it's whenever, especially, and we already know, historically, whenever they're trying to get something passed or approved, mice and rats are the first test subjects that they use right off the bat. So that's why I said, so why not create something that's just going to kill all the rats? If New York has a rat problem and you want to kill the rat, why kill them? Why are you using birth control on the rats? They're using the
that's
rats
not,
in
it's
New
gonna
York.
stop them from eventually reproducing, maybe, but they're not gonna
But they're
cease to
using the
exist.
rats in New York as test subjects to what the same birth control that they're using on the rats is going to be the same birth control they use on them.
That's going to be the new birth control in 2027. Watch, they're going to have this new birth control pill.
Oh yeah, they're going to have some real fancy name.
Take it once every 6 months. Rid you of all.
But you know what? It's something to consider. You're going to be giving the male rats birth control too. What does that do? How does that affect them? How's that going to throw their hormones off? Because I'm not going to lie. I will say this. The rats they can be brave sometimes. They can be brave. But for the most part,
my skin is
and they're so big. Oh my god.
I do not like rats.
For the most part, they scurry.
Right. They do what rats do.
They ain't coming at you. They see you, they go ahead. They sidestep.
But they're dirty, so it's like, fuck.
This is the most uncomfortable I've been in any conversation. Just talking about rats. It just makes me
this whole disposition right now.
but there has not been a change. I swear to y'all, I haven't seen more rats now than before. If anything, I almost feel like I've seen less. So I don't know. I think it's something else going on. But again, to the point of propaganda and social engineering.
Yeah, somehow we're making this be okay because it's some nasty ass rats. So if it was dogs or cats, and that would be absolute no because those are like household pets. But rats are rodents. We kill them. They're no big deal. They're irrelevant. They're not important. But to your point, I mean, there's just so many different ways that this could go. You don't know so is there a male and female version of this birth control? And if there is, okay, and how are you administering it?
That's probably the test. It's probably all in. And there you go with the chemtrails and stuff like that. If we can sterilize everybody, especially in the communities that we don't want to have children, it's more likely that they've already been testing this out a while ago before we ever known it. So when you see certain people spraying stuff over certain neighborhoods, they're trying to make us sterile. The whole and that's a lot.
Control, no doubt. Population control and illness.
The prison pipeline, that's population control. Mm-hmm. The LGBTQ agenda, that's population control. Mm-hmm. People don't like saying that, but that's also population control. And I'm not saying for people who are born that way, but you're trying to catch people and tell them that they are something that that wasn't even in their mind or a decision that they made, and now you're telling them, oh, it's probably because you're like this. That's all of these propagandas are forms of population control.
Yeah, population control. Well, see, when you had originally asked I think you'd asked what the purpose or what the purpose of social engineering was, and Denise had said
you got an answer for.
Yeah, Denise had said capitalism. Correct, if I'm correct. So it's always money. So then with always money, it's its bed partner is fucking control. So it's always those. It's the money, of course, but then ultimate control. And if you have control, if you control the people, then you fucking control everything. Right. And they do. Which is why I love those fucking dock workers right now. And I hope that, unfortunately,
I got a question.
I hope we suffer a little bit, and I hope that they suffer. I say they, those people up there who are the ones calling the shots. I hope that they suffer the most.
We'll suffer first.
They'll suffer for a weekend.
No, I mean 47,000 people in the domino effect in which this could potentially go. I was already watching.
We don't care.
So talk about social engineering. I'm looking at
$45 for a bottle of wine, and we're gonna be like, oh,
you gonna make your own goddamn wine shit. And in 45 days, you have a couple bottles in the kitchen.
Come on, man, y'all gotta fix it. We don't, and I've said this for the last 10 years. Our nation will not make any major change because we're too comfortable. I've been saying that for a long time. Yeah, but
47,000 people is a good goddamn start. 47,000 people is a great start because they all got together and said, you know what, fuck this shit.
And we can so easily be.
Where else do 47,000 people say, you know what, fuck this shit, let's stand up and strike? 47,000 people don't generally.
And then
hold on. Explain. Who are the 47,000?
Those are the port workers who are on strike. Oh. So it's 47,000 port employees are on strike.
Are they all the ports?
So there was 37 that were going on strike as of as of earlier this morning. The last time I was able to look on my phone, it was 14 of 37 so far. But
So are you saying like Louisiana, Florida, Baltimore,
everything
New York,
from the
like...
Gulf Coast to Maine, basically.
Mm.
So a lot of the major retailers, Walmart and shit like that, have already had a lot of their imports being sent to West Coast ports because they've been open, like, this whole entire time since COVID type shit. And I don't think that those ports are as in danger of shutting down as the ones along the East Coast and the
So
Gulf.
what do you think that does, if they're successful, what do you think it's going to do long term?
Well, they said that in the next week or so, when car salesmen want to go sell cars and there's no fucking cars to sell because they're in a shipping container somewhere, the car salesman's going to lose his fucking job. And then eventually, the trucker that's going to need to go pick some shit up isn't going to have something to pick up. So he or she's probably also going to lose their fucking job. People are going to stop shopping.
Sure.
Prices of everything is going to skyrocket. We're not going to have access to gas and water. They already said shit's gone at fucking Sam's and Costco.
That don't sound... I'm saying, how is it going to affect the one percenters? Like, you saying is how it's going to affect us.
Because everybody is going to feel it. So once again, we're going to be fucking flattened again.
But no, so what's going to happen? They're going to get
We
extra...
don't shop. We don't contribute to Christmas. We don't contribute to travel. We don't contribute to all of these things. And eventually they have to fucking give in. They have to
they're going to give in.
Okay.
So the dock workers are going to get an extra $5 an hour or unionize or whatever it is that
they
they're
want
looking
protection
for.
Because robots are going to take their jobs. They want no automated ports. Apparently there are 2 ports so far out of all of them that are 100% automated, robotic. And they don't want that. They're like, they're going to take our fucking jobs. And they, their stance is, they worked all through COVID and everything that comes into this country, like they were exposed to. The guy was like, whoever the head of this whatever, this union or whatever is like, my people were out there dying with COVID and, we had to go to work. Like, we want to be paid for that shit. Everybody else got compensated. We want to be paid for that. And we don't want these robots to come in here and take our job after the foundation in which we've laid for this country's imports coming in and exports going out.
But you think that's going to change
they're
anything
essential
long-term?
workers for real.
Say that again?
They're really essential workers.
Fuck yeah, they're essential workers.
They're like the essential workers that we don't know about. You know what I mean?
No, and they said most of these goods are like, they said most of these goods are apparel, they're tennis shoes, they're like, so like, when it's time to go shopping and you don't have access to clothes or the stores don't have much to sell, like, it's going to rewire a lot of people.
I'm going to tell you what happened.
It's going to rewire a lot of people, but a lot of people need some rewiring, man.
I'm glad you think that way, Nikki. But I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Let me tell you what's happening because I'm a visionary, a prophet. I like foreseeing. I like thinking steps ahead. That's chess player. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. It's funny. Stacey's head already. I don't know what it is. Why people taking toilet paper and paper towels is the first thing people go for.
I went yesterday. I refilled all my prescription medications.
Why is that the first thing that everybody think of all the time?
Because that other people are going to go take it, so you have to go take it before they fucking do.
So this is what's going to happen. Let me tell you what's going to happen. The companies, the 1%ers, the rich billionaires, they're going to concede to the wishes of those who are striking. Now, once they concede and they get everybody back on board and they get them back on the docks and working, they're going to create a plan. They're going to slowly start filtering and getting all of these people out of here and getting people who we want in, who are not going to come together and unionize and strike and do those things.
I don't think that's going to be that easy.
Trust me,
I don't think that's going to be that easy. I think people are fucking fed up, and I think there's enough people in this country who are fed up. I do believe that.
No, Nikki, because now you're not thinking about this. Because once they give them what they want,
it makes sense why they would, of course, get rid of them.
Once they give them what they want, everybody go back. Oh, hooray, we won! You don't win against the billionaires.
Well, I don't know if it's. I don't know.
They'll give you a weekend win, and you feel like you won, not knowing over the next 6 months. Oh, what happened to John? What happened to John? oh yeah, he decided that they got this thing where
I
you
mean,
know
they have to be
if you do
prepared for that.
if
So
you
if
take a
there's going to be
severance
things
pay,
written in
you know they
clauses
cutting
put
down.
in and things that's determined to where you can't have retaliation in any motherfucking form or fashion. Like zero retaliation.
You can't think that with the people who make the laws. The people who make the laws also know how to manipulate.
Yeah,
around
but
the
if they're
laws.
also there in place to protect me, then I can utilize them as well. So, you know, and I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of very smart legal counsel involved in whatever these dealings are, because
So
it
in
will
any movement,
it's going to be an
trust me, and
interesting
this is
ride.
what I also know as well. In any movement, there's a small minority of people who actually are thrusting the movement. So with all these dock workers, it's probably a handful of people who actually put the whole movement of the strike together.
Yeah.
They're gonna weed those people out first. Say, hey, you know, Jason, you know, 57 years old, you getting close to retirement. We want to give you this severance pay and give you this early so you can retire early. They're gonna get them on out of there first. You get those people out. You start slowly filtering out the people that you do. You start bringing in management companies, temp agencies. We're not going to bring you on full time. We're going to bring you on temporary, part time. That way we have no obligation. We don't have to give you benefits. We don't have to. I've seen this happen so many different times.
There's many ways to pinch people out. I just
and once
don't
they
think
pinch you out,
once
you get pinched out, then they're gonna bring the automated machines back in and do what they've been planning to do all the time.
Well, so that's what they're trying to prevent. So we shall.
That's what they try.
We shall see. That's what
Listen,
they're trying to prevent.
the problem is, we as people, we don't understand the 1%, the billionaires. They think 10 steps ahead.
Of course.
They thinking 20. They thinking 20 years down the line while and we don't have the ability to really think like that because most of us live paycheck to paycheck. If you live paycheck to paycheck, you cannot afford. Your mind doesn't allow you to think 20 years ahead.
They expect that, and this is why.
And that's why they win.
That's why it's been. I think they said 50 years or 70 years or some shit since the last time that this has happened. So they were not prepared for people. They were prepared for people to stay asleep and take the fucking peanuts that we throw you and keep your mouth shut and go to work. Like they were expecting that because that's what we usually fucking do. But these 47,000 people said, you know what? Fuck you and your peanuts. Okay, we'll hurt for a little bit. We'll suffer for a little bit. Like we'll take one for the team right now. Like it's gonna hurt. All of our fucking families finna hurt. If they didn't save up the last couple months while they've been working, while they plan this shit, like it's gonna be tough paying bills during this part of the season.
Who can even afford to save right now?
That part.
If you're middle class, you really can't even afford to save.
Well, and a lot, you know, I mean, a lot of these are families. A lot of these are, hell, some of them are women who work at these stores.
On a side note, middle class of today is not real middle class of in the 60s and 70s.
Shit, middle class
60s and
80s and 90s. Shit.
You can have one person work, the other person stay with children, and the one person who working could pay for the house mortgage, the 2 cars, the dog, the food, everything. That don't work no more. And you can call me middle class if you want, but no, it ain't the same thing.
No, it ain't the same thing.
Can't afford to save. Can't afford this. Like a lot of stuff. You ain't supposed to be middle class working pay check to check.
No,
but that's what it is.
You should be able to
But
have.
that's the other purpose. A lot of this stuff too is to like. I really feel like before the pandemic, we were in a stable place. Like people were starting to get money. I tell y'all this on the show all the time.
I was making great money for the fucking pandemic hit.
Yeah. During the, right before all the fallouts after the pandemic, I was like, oh, I got a raise. I can, dramatically shift my life. I mean, the raise I got was like $25,000 extra a year.
Wow. Yeah. Right.
My lifestyle did not change because my rent has doubled since then. Okay, groceries are more expensive. I am in the same situation. I feel like monetarily as I was pre-pandemic.
So you think about voting for Trump now?
And I'm not voting.
I was going to say,
I don't know. Like, hey,
I'm not voting. You know I'm not voting because
they're gonna do whatever they want to do regardless. Like I said last week, every single person on this planet could vote for one of those two candidates, and whatever one they want us to have is the one that's gonna get the job regardless. So it don't matter who we do or don't fucking vote.
I'm
They're
trying
giving
to.
us who
I
they've
mean,
determined
no
us
one,
to have.
no one's gonna change my financial situation. Neither one of them have a plan for my financial situation.
Right.
They just don't. Like it doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm single. They don't give a fuck about. Like, you know, I don't have kids. They
But
don't.
you said it yourself before the pandemic, when Trump was still in office, things was better for you.
No, it's not about him being in office. It was before the pandemic. When the pandemic happened,
before the pandemic, he was there. He was.
It shifted everything, because it's like what ends up happening. What I noticed from a real estate, I feel like real estate determines a lot of what happens with everybody.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, so when people stopped paying rent, but they couldn't be evicted, and then the eviction courts opened back up. Some people started getting evicted, and the
I probably freezed up. It's that time of night. I freeze up around the same time every time.
Oh,
all right, Denise. But, if I disappear, then just keep on talking, because I might.
Okay,
we do that. So, we will log back in.
So, but you know, so during the pandemic, people stopped paying rent. They couldn't be kicked out because there was a law stating that people could not be evicted. So then, when the eviction courts opened back up, people started getting evicted, but landlords weren't getting rent. So guess who has to pay more rent now? Us. Right. So people who are maybe getting evicted from, maybe if they had a mortgage or whatever the case may be, guess who's buying that up? And then you got the people who were renting like commercial real estate. Well, guess what? They can't pay their rent. They didn't even have any customers because they couldn't do, you know, because of the pandemic. So guess who's going to shut down? Guess who's going to go buy up all the commercial real estate? So now you got somebody who's like, okay, we just bought up all this commercial real estate. We done bought a few houses. We done bought a few plots. And now we're going to completely shift this neighborhood and turn it into something else. And so now my rent is more. My groceries are more. Like like it shifts every single thing. But it's because of the fallout from the pandemic. So sometimes, again, I felt like the pandemic was done to put us back into debt. Everything that has been happening thus far is to keep us in debt. If you keep the middle class in debt, like if there's no hope for us, like
we forever have workers.
Yep. So it's designed. Everything is designed to keep the middle class from going to upper middle class and then rich. That is the problem. Because if you're here, you can get here. But if they can keep you here by continuing to do something, oh, go to school. Damn, I got $70,000, $70,000 in school loans. Okay, so it's like, oh, go to school because blah blah blah, because education, and that's all they push to us. And then you see now that a lot of the times in this day and age, your education doesn't really mean a lot. Unless you are doing a very specific thing, like being a doctor, being a lawyer, something that specifically needs that degree, you don't really need it. I mean, it's preferred, don't get me wrong, but you don't really need it.
You know, I don't even pay because I don't have a degree. And even when I look at jobs that, we such and such, we need 4 years, I'm like, you don't need that. And it's like, I don't even pay attention to it. Like, I don't need it. If I can interview well and I show that I'm qualified to do the job, then they're like, yeah, that's true.
So yeah, it's designed to keep us in debt, all of it.
You know what? It reminded me of. Did you watch the Dave Chappelle special? This is when he first came out on Netflix. I think it was his third special. I think it's called The Bird Revelation. Yeah, that's when he was in a smaller setting and he talked about the pimp Iceberg.
Yes.
And the trick was ready to get out the game, so he made this elaborate plot to tie her to him for another however long.
Yep.
But it's like that's what reminded me of when you was talking about that. Like, oh, you ready to get out? All right, let's come up with this. So now you tie back to us for another 10 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
And for people who don't know, I think it was the Bird's Eye Revelation, that one, where basically he had the pimp made the trick believe that they had killed someone and they were helping them cover it up, but the whole thing was fake. And so, like, to Q's point, it's like a lot of this is fake. And so that's where the propaganda comes into play, because the propaganda needs you to believe this thing or that thing. Now, I'm trying to figure out, what do y'all think with all the stuff with Iran and Iraq? Because you can see, I don't know if y'all saw that Iran is bombing Iraq right now.
No, Iran is bombing Israel.
Sorry, Israel. Iran is bombing Israel. What do y'all think? And then the stuff with Ukraine and Russia, like, and what do y'all think all of this is about? Why do you think there's such a push for war?
Well, for me, I mean, you know, me and my church going stuff. I've been told about this since I was 5 years old.
Right.
And not just about what's happened in the past, what will happen in the future. So everything that I'm seeing happen, I've been told about these things are going to happen. So that's one of those things. If you actually believe that the Bible has any accurate prophecy to it, then it's like, I'm not surprised. And this is just the beginning stages of what will bring what they call Armageddon at the end. So it's like, whether I believe it or not, I see it happening. I'm like, well, shoot, this what
we've seen this a million times. We like in our lifetime. This has happened at least 3 times. Like, my mom was in Desert Storm. Like, you know, I don't know what the economy was looking like around that time. You know what I mean? And then you had the Gulf. Well, I don't know when the Gulf War was, but there's Desert Storm. Then there was like, what was that other war? Then they were like in Bosnia at the time.
Bill Clinton, Bosnia, Kosovo, Georgia.
Right. There was so many things. Yeah, that era. And then you had what was going down in 2001 when they were in Iraq. Like, the Twin Towers, that whole thing, like all the things
of mass destruction, 9/11.
Like, yeah, and they were saying it was about to be World War III. Like, we have seen this at least 3 times in our lifetime. That's when
they killed. They killed Gaddafi. They killed Saddam.
Yeah, I don't feel like this is different.
Gaddafi a different time.
I don't feel like this is. And then there was like the 2008 collapse of the housing. So we were like, you know, monetarily we're the same. You know, I was in college at the time, so I kind of like didn't really understand what was happening because I wasn't affected by it because I wasn't working. You know, so. Like, but we've seen this. I don't think this is new. I just want to know why you think it's happening now. Because then you could say that all those times too.
But so it's not, I don't think it's happening now. I think this is just an ongoing thing of what continually happens. War has, even if it seems strange to us, it's only because war is more foreign to us now than usually in past history. War has always been a part of life and history. It's just that doesn't change.
That's true. Unfortunately, that is very true.
And just to take it a step further, I mean, it's, to tell you the truth, in all honesty, the only reason that we're viewing it in the way that we are right now is because of our close ties to Israel. We talking about Israel, Palestine.
Gotcha.
If you think about all of the wars that Sudan, Darfur, you think about the ones that's going on in Europe, you think about Russia, you think about in Asia. In the course of our lifetime, I wonder, it's probably been less than 2 or 3 years in the course of my entire blah 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 years that I've been alive that the world itself wasn't in some type of war. There's always war going on, but we focus more on it because of our ties to Israel. We don't focus about all the stuff going on in Africa.
Typically, we don't get it. Yeah.
The civil wars that go on even like everywhere, South America. Like, there's nowhere that you can mention that there's not war going on. We just take more interest. Our news cycle takes a bigger interest in it when it's Israel.
Right. And like I told y'all that one time, it's like, well, I looked it up again and it was like $22 billion in imports that we get from Israel. And most of that number is medical instruments, and some are diamonds, and some are something else. But it's like, you know, those are medical instruments. We can't get them. Where are we gonna get those from? And that's a big reason why people like they don't want to say it, because then it would be crippling if more people knew how much stuff we don't make and we don't have the ability to make for our population, that we have to get outside of our population. Because then we don't look like America. But the fact that we don't have our own medical instruments, and that at any point a person can be like, another country could be like, give me that shit. You know what I mean? Like,
and the only reason we don't is because it's cheaper to import them. It's cheaper to have them made somewhere else. So instead of having a quality product made at home, paying our people to do it, and having readily accessible, you know, whenever we need to, no, we're just going to import them. And now we can't even get the shit. Or it's on a recall, or blah, 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 blah. Like,
I have a question. Because we thought these are port dock workers that we've been talking about. But why is it that we, as the people, are not pushing back more on the eradication of paper money?
Because we don't have enough. We don't have enough time to be thinking about what the fuck the money looks like and what form we can get it in. We're just trying to get it so we can pay our bills. We don't have the capacity to be like, hey guys, maybe it's convenient. Everything is time is literally money. I don't got time to be going to the bank. I ain't got time to be trying to carry this around and make sure I don't forget where it is. You know how many times I done had cash and I'm like, dang, I got this. You know, I found $20 here, $10. I'm like, I found $10 in my jacket. That
ain't
jacket
nothing better than finding $20 in a winter coat.
I'm always finding cash in my pocket because I'm a cash person. I'm a cash stasher. I've always been a cash stasher.
That's the best feeling in the world. Find $20, $40, $60 in a winter.
Like, bingo!
We going to Sizzler. We going to Sizzler.
Like, if we have more, and that's the whole point. You keep us in a state of survival and just trying to get by and trying to get to the next check. You don't have enough time. I guess what? Y'all want to give the rats birth control? I guess I just will try to avoid this water as much as possible, because clearly y'all trying to kill me. But I don't got time to think about that, because I just need to make sure I got money to pay my rent. Like, I don't have, like, they keep us so busy, so busy that we can't even.
So Denise, I'm glad you responded to that, because you just made my point. I did that on purpose. You made my point. That's why things are not going to change. You just went back to what I said. On one side, we too focused with our own struggle, and on the other side, we're too comfortable. We're struggling to maintain our comfortability, but we don't have to walk 2 miles to get it, to fetch a pail of water. Water is available to us. We don't have to worry about, even if we have to go to a food pantry, do whatever. It's something. We might be hungry as far as what we want to eat, but we are in a land of plenty. There's going to be something that you have to eat. Like, versus people that live in a famished land where there is absolutely nothing. We are comfortable even in our struggle. That's why we're not going to change.
But also, when do we have the time? Like, for example,
I agree.
Because think about this.
Universe gonna make everybody have the time here at some point. So what they say, if you don't make the time, if you don't find the time, they're gonna make the time.
But that's the 1%. That's what they're so good at, is making you comfortable enough to where you'll keep working and you won't put up a fuss, and you feel that this job is your lifeline. But not comfortable enough to where you be like, you know what, I'm gonna go start my own business. They don't want you that comfortable. They just want you comfortable enough to say, you know what? I can probably squeeze my rent in this month, and I got to pull back on this, but I can't afford to take no days off because I got my sick time and I can't take no extra. That's where they got you it's a sweet spot that they keep everybody in. It's really genius if you think about it, to actually be able to keep people in a sweet spot to where they're comfortable enough to stay, but not comfortable enough to actually go pursue their dreams. It's really a genius thing.
You know what else I think is a contributor to this? Like another thing that is social engineering. I think that what do you call it? Gentrification is a part of the social engineering too. Let me tell you why. Because Nikki, think about your grandparents, right? Think about the house that your grandparents lived in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember them knowing all their neighbors?
Yep, absolutely, 100%.
Do you remember like knowing a few of their names? Even if you didn't know everybody, like they kind of knew you. Like, oh, that's Miss Jackson across the street.
They knew you.
That's Miss.
And they had eyes on you, so you better act right.
Right.
Even if your grandparents ain't see you, better act right because you got eyes on you.
Do you remember at any point the neighbors just like dropping off a cake? Or dropping off, like, oh, we got some extra fish, or we got like,
absolutely,
just right. So we had communities. We there was just certain things that, like let's say you didn't even have a baby. Like, let's say you didn't have a babysitter. Like, right? But you knew when your kids got off the bus that Miss Jackson, she works from home or she stays home. She doesn't work. Your kids, when she get her kids, your kids are coming too. She gonna make sure they get in that house. Like there are certain things that you don't even have to spend money on. There's just you just looked out for each other much differently. If your neighbor was having an issue, you were having an issue. Y'all knew everybody what issue was going on. You could come together and you could mobilize. Like, and you weren't struggling as much because if somebody did need groceries or needed this or needed that, we were there for each other. So we depended less on the system because we depended on our community because we had a community.
True, 100%. So Miss Rosie,
I don't know my neighbors.
Nope, I do not. I don't know them. I don't trust them.
See, I always know my neighbors everywhere I live. Now, granted, I don't live a whole lot of places, but I damn sure know my neighbors. I always know my neighbors.
That makes a difference, though. It's like you said, you haven't lived a lot of places.
Right.
You get settled. And you get comfortable and you're more willing. Like people, when you moving around every 2 or 3 years, like, why am I even getting to know you?
See, I need to know who
There's
I am.
no
I mean, to go back to Denise, what you were saying though. So Miss Rosie, she had a garden in her backyard and she grew sweet potatoes and cabbage and tomatoes.
Put all the extras
so
in the
then you bring
that
to certain such and such.
Yeah.
But then my grandfather, if one of your something was stopped up in your plumbing, this and then he'd go help fix the plumbing for you. You ain't have to, like, it's always what I have to offer, I can offer it to you, and what you have to offer, you can offer. So we will always help each other out, and we don't need for anything.
That's how it's supposed to be still.
Yeah.
That's how I mean, but it can if you try. I mean, and it doesn't have to work like that all the time. But
we know how crazy people was either.
I mean, obviously you have issues with see how crazy people are in their real world, right? Like people were crazy back then too. People were crazy back then too.
That's what I'm saying. And then you watch Ayanna, you see all these stories come out, you be like, oh no, hell no.
Right.
But you knew a person's family. Like it's certain stuff that you weren't gonna do, Nikki, Q. If so-and-so was down the street, you just weren't even going to do it.
Right.
Like it is just established boundaries. Like when they say it takes a village to raise someone, when you're raised in a community, you're less likely to be a delinquent. But you know what
now? I think for people who look for it, you still have it, but it's not a neighborhood circular thing. Like, you part of my community,
like
Denise. You live across the country. Nikki is a part of my community. We don't live in the same neighborhood.
Right.
So it's different. You know what I'm saying? Social media
we have to make our own community.
It's stressed out the community. But when your community is stressed out, then you do lose some things too.
Right. Right.
You don't have that immediate access in a lot of situations. So yeah.
Well, and so maybe because of that, it also maybe like unsubconsciously allows us to not know our neighbors. Because I don't need to know my
Right.
neighbors.
I
I
got my own
know
community.
my
That's
people
true.
across the
That's
way, or
true.
my people are blah. Like I don't need to know
That's
my
true.
neighbors, but like I need to know my motherfucking neighbors. I need to
That
know who
is true.
y'all are.
That's a good
You know,
point.
and whether they like us or
That's true.
not, or vice versa. But I think maybe that could also create this strange space where like I'm isolating to everything that isn't what I already know type shit.
But
I
you know
don't
what the
know.
other difference is and I think that's probably the biggest part of when you don't have the same level of ownership, then there's not the desire. See, my mom and dad own their house. The people next door on both sides all own their house.
Right.
So you're going to get to know people because you're going to be here for a while.
You're going to be there for a while.
My grandparents on the same, we still own the properties of both of my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
And the neighbor, you know them. You know them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ain't nobody going. Now
Yeah,
that I've
people
actually
didn't really rent or whatever back then.
right when I
Right,
rented a
right.
house, I'm like, I don't know how long I'm living in an apartment, or even when I rented a house, I don't know how long I'm be. Now that I'm an owner, I'm going to people. Hey, what's going on? What's your name?
Right.
I'm gonna get to know you a little bit.
Right.
It's different then,
Right,
so
right,
you know,
right.
it's a difference.
Right.
Yeah, the investment is different. That is so true. That's so true.
Right.
Because you
And I
want to
need
know
to
if
be
you
on a
say
good
next to
terms
my
with you
friend.
because it's not even just an individual thing. It's actually not individual or just community, but it's business also.
Mm-hmm.
I want my property value to stay up.
Yeah, it's my shit. This is
So I
mine.
need to know you well enough to tell you, hey, your
You-
grass is out of control. You
That
messing
fence
with my
looks terrible.
right. You need to do something with that. You
The
messing up.
trees in my shit.
You messing up the whole scenery of all of this. We need So it's a
Mhm.
different thing.
And herein lies your HOAs. And
Yep.
people love those. Let somebody else be the
I don't
the
like
bad
them,
neighbor.
but I understand it though.
Yeah.
And the HOA fees.
Yeah,
Ooh,
okay.
the
So just because you can
HOA
afford the house, if you can't afford the fees, that's another way to kind of
Yep.
Man.
get out of
Another
here.
thing.
Man.
Mhm.
Man. But that could be a form of social engineering too, because it
Oh,
also
for
then
sure.
creates a dynamic in which you, as the neighbor, don't need to go knock on your neighbor's door and be like, hey, like your music
Right.
is loud, or hey, like, you got too many cars parked in the fucking, blocking the sidewalk or something. Like, you can now go be scary. And you can go report to your HOA. Oh, my neighbor has too many cars next door. Like, man, back in the day, we would just go next door. You just
Yeah.
knock on your neighbor's fucking door, or you call them.
But see, Nikki, but this is a part of the other part of the social engineering. Since now everybody's so comfortable with the social media aspect, the average person has lost so many social skills, just basic interactive skills. I don't know if I feel comfortable going to my next door neighbor and telling them that because
Right.
Are you
they
used
might
to someone
wig out or
knocking
they
on your
might do
door?
something crazy or stupid
Right.
or call,
That's true.
like you just
And that's
don't know
true.
because
That's true.
people don't have basic social skills anymore. It's
yeah,
like
people are foolish.
it's safer for me to go to the HOA versus just talk to a person. And you ever try to talk to a person like on some simple? Let me just go on a simple.
Right. People are very
And then they all
defensive.
over the place. You be like, you know what? This is gonna be the last conversation I take.
Right. You're not
Mhm.
equipped for these types of conversations.
And it's
You are going to be that neighbor.
Oh my god, it's so many people. Like, and that's why I had Denise saw that I had a post on there. I'm like, I'm almost finished talking to people. Like,
I saw you
I'm
post
done.
that. I saw that. I was like, oh God, what generated that?
Yeah, I was so disappointed. I was like, how the hell did they get to Q?
I
I
I said it had to have been last Tuesday.
Oh, what was it,
I
Q?
must have made him mad last week.
No, that wasn't it. No, that wasn't it. I really
He's
just.
like talking to these fucking people
Right.
no more. Look, Denise, when he left last Tuesday, he said, I'm so disappointed in freethinkers tonight.
I did say I was disappointed. I'm like, I'm disappointed in y'all.
I said, so am I, goddammit. So am I.
Like, I'm disappointed.
I've been thinking about that all week long. I even told Cash, I was like, you had the nerve to say he was fucking disappointed. I said, more people should have been there last week, god dang it.
That's funny.
But that's how you know it was a great conversation.
Oh yeah. No, we went at it like we always do.
We did.
Right, and for the
What-
people listening in, you see how we like get aggravated with each other, but then we're like, okay, we're over it. Like that's the whole thing, y'all. Like again, like I have to say, like we debates and all these things, people are gonna be passionate about stuff. That's the point. Don't you want that? I don't ever want to be in a situation where you guys say, yep,
Right.
I agree. Like I can't trust you. Like somebody gotta disagree at some point. Like we can't always be on one accord.
You know, more than anything, I think what irritates me the most is, I think the memes. I think memes, the things people post. Number one, memes, and also the clips and the reels that people post.
Tell
And
me
they
more.
don't realize that the posts are fake. That bothers me.
Yeah, you hate that. the troll videos, you hate that shit. Because that's social engineering. You literally watch how people are engineered to respond a certain way, and it ignites a certain energy within them. It incites a certain type of dynamic, and you're like, you don't even have to be that way because this isn't even a real situation.
But Nikki, I will go to the comment threads on some of these fake videos, and people are just going back
Super
and forth,
invested.
and I'm like, y'all creating enemies over this ain't even real.
Right.
And I don't, and I think the thing that pushes my irritation to a further limit is that you see it's fake. Okay, people don't see it's fake. You know, you can easily, all of these people who doing these fake videos and stuff, all you got to do is go to their page and you can see that they just doing the same thing in different videos all the way down. But people, we are so knee-jerk reaction-ish that we don't even care. Like, we'll just go off of the meme. We'll go off of the little clip. We don't want to get context. We don't care if it's true or not. Like, you don't, and this is what I said earlier, like, it's so disgusting. A lot of people now are, attention is a drug. Attention is a drug.
Ooh.
People now, I said this a little while ago.
Terrible one at that.
People are starting, they're getting to the place to where they're starting to post, not all, but a lot of these people are posting missing persons things to where, oh, my niece is missing such and such, such and such. You go to their page, their niece ain't missing. They're doing this just because they want to get likes, they want to get shares, they want to get sympathies. They're using a fake tragedy to draw up algorithms. It's some of the most disgusting stuff I've seen.
Remember when I was saying that was going up, and I kept on asking free thinkers. I was like, guys, is this happening in your feed too? Where it was literally like, it got to the point where I was seeing 4 and 5 new missing people a day, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, do I need to be on alert? Or is this just being pushed in my algorithm for a certain reason? Because they were always Black. Or like, is some of it fake? Like, which one is it?
A lot of it is.
I think it's all the above, because some of it is fake, and a lot of Black women are coming up fucking missing. A lot of Black people are coming up fucking missing. Like, so I think that but some of those are children that are for sale. So if they word those missing articles properly, and they have certain attire and certain colors on and certain stuff in those pictures, those are fucking hidden words for people who are buying children. So like, there's so many different things that actually happen when you see those posts. But I mean, with them possibly not being real, it's like, okay, but there is the possibility though that there's a lot that's fucking real. Like, this is a representation of stuff that is actually happening. And that's, I mean, that's just
that's why I said I didn't even want to talk about
that we know about. What did they say? Hundreds of thousands of people are missing every fucking year.
So if I see 10 posts come across my thread talking about missing person and 8 of them are fake, I still don't want to say nothing, because it could be one of those 2 that actually are real. And it's like, you just don't want to do anything or say anything out of pocket if it's a real situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been seeing a lot of these situations. It's like
it could be done to desensitize us, so we're just like, I just can't. Like, because I was starting to feel like,
right.
Our fucking Amber Alerts going off on our phone desensitizes you to the issue that there may be a kidnapped child who's actually in danger. I'm of the belief that I think a lot of the Amber Alerts are like disgruntled parents, disgruntled non-custodial family members and shit like that, right? So a lot of them are not necessarily
Maria Gonzalez missing such, and then potential suspect
taken by grandparents, or taken by dad, like
okay, that's a family issue, y'all.
And that doesn't mean that bad things don't fucking happen in some of those situations.
But they need to change. They need to change it in a way so people don't get desensitized.
But we already are, because the second that your fucking phone goes off, everybody's like, "Oh, hurry up and shut it off!" Like,
So let me tell y'all, this is another one of my pet peeves that people don't pay attention to. R. Kelly, P. Diddy. Who else did I hear recently? They said that about. I was just watching the documentary about McMahon, the WWE
I started that.
person.
Yeah, I just started that.
They keep using this freaking. They keep trying to get people on sex trafficking all the time when there's issues, direct issues that a woman complaint have with a man or vice versa, so forth. They keep using the charge sex trafficking because they know it lends more time and it's a greater offense than just saying sexual assault or something like that. I don't like it. It's desensitizing for people who are actually being trafficked.
Yeah.
So
now it starts to numb down the word because you see the word sex trafficking all the time, this and this and that.
Yep.
And you using the term sex trafficking when he's talking about Cassie. They were in an abusive relationship. It's not the same thing as someone who being stolen from their family, being taken in another place. Like, the purpose of that accusation was not designed in the way that they're using it right now, and it desensitizes people. Like I said, nobody listens because R. Kelly was a creep and he deserved what he got. But when he was talking to Gail, he was like, "It's really women out here being stolen and ain't nobody paying attention to." He was telling the truth, but don't nobody want to hear that from him. When P. Diddy, they get a sex trafficking again. McMahon, sex trafficking. It was inappropriate relationships that need to have. You don't want to classify that term. You want to save that term for people who are really going through it, and they're not doing it because they want to get a bigger. They want to get a bigger charge put on so that these people will settle out of court. Because they know if you're facing 20 years, then you're more likely to settle than you potentially facing 6 years. It's like you're using politics and it's wrong all the way around. Nobody pays attention to this stuff.
But do you think that the macro to that is because, again, they want to desensitize us to sex trafficking? Because it was getting to the point where I feel like we were starting to speak about sex trafficking in the true sense of people being kidnapped, drugged, and sent wherever, don't know where they're drugged out of their mind. Like, we were starting to have that conversation.
That's a good thought.
Maybe a few years ago, it was starting to be a thing where people like, hey, y'all, like, people, like, this is a thing. And now you don't really hear it in the context of what, in that context anymore. So maybe that is a part of the game, is to desensitize people to the fact that there are people out here. Because I mean, I tell y'all all the time, when the kids were being separated from their parents and the camps, I was like, you're just not going to tell me that they're not being abused. There's no other reason to separate families. They did it with the African people when they brought us here. They separated us, they abused us, and they slaved us. Like, there's only one way to put that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, there's no way that we're not like so many, and then there's no documentation. Like, they don't have security, social security number. Like, there's no document. There's no way to even prove what's happening. People ain't speaking the language. Like, I feel like America is built on sin, bro. Like, it is built. America.
Did you ever watch Orange is the New Black, Denise?
I probably watched the first 2 seasons, maybe. I know for sure
Okay.
I did the first season. I think a little bit of the second season.
The last season they really went deep into the border camps and stuff like that, and it was really some eye opening stuff, because not only that, since they're not American citizens, they don't even have the same rights as we do. And you're talking about, oh, your phone call? Oh, you don't get no phone call. Oh, but sure, you can get a phone call. It's gonna cost you $25 a minute.
Oof.
Well, I don't have 20. Well, I don't know what to tell you. You'll be here until we let you. Like, you got to remember, these people, since they're not citizens, they don't even have the same rights as we do, or the supposed rights that we do.
Wow. Okay, now with that being said, right? Because I'm going like Black Mirror mode, right?
Ooh, we need to do another series of Black Mirror real soon. But
Well,
go ahead.
I wanted to define what sex trafficking is, though, too. I think that that's important to understand what the actions of sex trafficking are, because I don't think that there's desensitization necessarily in sex trafficking. I think what we're realizing is just how fucking common it's always been. How common practice it is in a lot of industries, how common practice it is for a lot of men and women, how common practice it is for a lot of people with power and people with positions of power. That sex trafficking isn't just kidnapping somebody and running them across state lines and making them, be a prostitute or be an underage, So sex trafficking it says basically the exact definition of sex trafficking. Sex trafficking, the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, obtaining, patronizing, or soliciting of a person for the purpose of commercial sex act, in which the commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person is induced to perform such act and is not obtained 18 years of age. So that's the definition of sex trafficking.
Okay.
The definition of the other definition says sex trafficking is a crime that involves force, fraud, or coercion to compel individuals into commercial sex act. So it's not that and this is kind of like, what I was saying last week when we were having this conversation about Diddy. It's not about them having gay sex parties. It's not about people being gay. It's not about people having crazy sex, wild whatevers they want to do. Like, it's not about that. It's about the fact that some of these things, now hundreds of cases or statements, which all may not be true, and we understand that to be good and well and very authentic, but there are numerous cases of coercion and drugging and people being held against their will and abused emotionally, physically, sexually, verbally, into doing things that they didn't have a choice to. So I think that maybe people don't know that sex trafficking is such actually a broad term. It's not just kidnapping somebody and making them turn them into prostitution or whatever. Like, it's any time that you have fucking forced somebody to do some shit, drug somebody to do some shit, or held them against their will emotionally, spiritually. It's like, you probably haven't experienced this. You're a man, and usually this is a man and a woman dynamic, but like man and woman get into an argument, and man doesn't necessarily physically abuse woman, but he corners her into a room. She can't move. He corners her into a space of, the room in which he doesn't hold her there, but she can't fucking get past him. Like, that's the same type of shit. And a lot of people don't identify those ill behaviors because I didn't hit you. I didn't punch you. I didn't push you down. So I'm not participating in improper sexual behavior because I didn't actually rape somebody. I didn't actually kidnap them against their own will. But have you done some of these fucking things? And there's a lot of people that probably could be found guilty of trafficking if you actually
if you went to the letter of the law. So that's one of my arguments that I have oftentimes, especially when you talk about me being a Bible reader and follower. You have the letter of the law and you have the spirit of the law. The letter of the law is what the law says, what it's stated, like this is what it says, so this is how it's followed. The spirit of the law deals with the reason for the law. So for instance, at the literally every time I walk across the street, if I don't get to the end of the corner or to the crosswalk or whatever, that can be considered jaywalking every time by the letter of the law.
If you don't use the actual crosswalk.
Yes, by the letter of the law, I'm jaywalking literally 8 times a day.
I got a ticket for that shit once on 5th Street.
So, okay, thank you though, Nikki. Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate that. On 6th Street, if you ever been on 6th Street, you know how busy it is. You know how dangerous it could be.
Mm-hmm.
To enforce that on 6th Street, the spirit of the law is to make sure people are not putting themselves in danger or putting a driver in potential danger by hitting you in the wrong place, wrong time, so forth. The spirit of the law was designed to keep people safe.
Of course.
You writing me a ticket for jaywalking in my neighborhood, nobody's around, so forth, but I just saw you walk. That goes against the spirit of the law. So even if we just go by the letter of the law, there's some people who will say, well, by the letter of the law, you broke the law.
Right.
That's not what it was designed for.
I have a question, right? When it comes to trafficking, isn't like pretty much if you buy an ass, ain't that considered trafficking? The buying of ass in any capacity, isn't that considered trafficking?
By the letter of the law.
It didn't say it in any of these
but by the letter,
but it would be prostitution, wouldn't it? Because you're purchasing a sex act for
okay,
monetary good. So, that would be prostitution.
But no. But see, it goes back into.
I mean, technically, right?
But but interpretation wise, I didn't have enough money. This guy told me that he could help me and this and this and that. So I felt like I didn't have a choice other than to sell my body. So my interpretation of it can turn it into something else when basically it should just be prostitution, like you said, Denise. But if someone says, I felt like I didn't have a choice in the matter, and somebody made it seem so nice and so like such a great opportunity, and I went for it. They coerced me into making this decision that ultimately I really did. How many prostitutes?
If you were coerced, that's another story.
But go back to what Denise is saying. How many prostitutes actually want to be selling their bodies for money on a regular basis, commercially, like the law said? How many want to do that? So all of them could make an accusation for sexual trafficking in some degree if there's another outside party also getting a percentage off of it.
Good.
Right, well, not even just that, but like, for instance, like some of the Instagram girls and like the Instagram baddies and things like that, they are sex workers. They won't say that's what they are, but they are sex workers. So if you take a plane to blah, 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 and you live in Houston, and this guy flew me out, and we had sex, and he pays for it, that can be considered trafficking. You know what I'm saying? So there's like, I think
was that the
but
Denise,
no, because
no, hold on, Denise.
Some people are getting caught on charges like that.
Denise, like was that the intention of the original law? So do you feel that was the original? That's my point.
Not. No, and then there's like, I think, remember when Robert Kraft got, I think he got a trafficking charge, and he got a little sloppy top or whatever it was after he got a massage. And so it's like, if I get a happy ending,
coercion is so subjective. It's so subjective.
So coercion can be subjective.
Coercion.
Sure.
Am I saying it right?
Coercion.
Coercion. It's so subjective.
That's true. That's dangerous.
And so basically it comes down to any time a person needs money and they do something because they need money, then it could say I was coerced into doing it.
I mean, you still got to prove it, but
it's dangerous.
There's no real way.
And the bigger point is that's not what that law was intended for.
Yeah.
What, trafficking?
Yes. The intention, I know how it's worded, but the intention was the way the average person views trafficking. It was designed to make harsher penalties for people who are really
abusing their power and abusing people into doing things that they don't necessarily want to do, into sex acts.
It's a little deeper than that, Nikki.
I mean, but abuse of power can be in a lot of different ways. You know,
I know,
whether they're physically abused or emotionally abused, or they're drugged and they're then held captive.
Drug.
All of those things fall under you are keeping me held hostage. You're just not maybe physically tying me down.
And you're leaning into a little bit. You're all encompassing, but you're also including the letter of the law that it wasn't designed for, in my opinion.
Well, but it's in there, so it protects those.
I mean,
again, I'm not a letter of the law person. I'm a spirit of the law person.
I feel like if you're being held against your will, if you're being drugged, like, of course, like, you're being drugged, you're like, or inebriated to the point where a person's clearly taking advantage. You ain't in your right mind, you know, like those things. That is clearly, in my opinion, wrong. I think there's a difference, and we talked about this. I do think there's a difference between someone promising you status or promising you a career and you taking them up on that and then turn around and saying, oh, well, I don't feel like, I understand the abusive power aspect, but I feel like it was consent. There was still consent. I'm not talking about
negates trafficking as an option. The minute that consent is a possibility, I think that trafficking is no longer what you can define that by, because
I think
trafficking is not with consent.
No, by the letter you can.
That's the whole thing with trafficking, is that this was not a consensual.
I just gave you the whole scenario. I didn't have the money. I didn't feel like I had another choice because I had bills due.
Right, but that was still a consensual move that you decided to make. But if that person person coerced you and it was against your will, that's another story.
It don't even have to be against your coercion is a very subjective term.
Sure, but if it was another person that was putting that onto you as opposed to you deciding for yourself, I need to do this.
But what Denise is saying, with the exception of people being kidnapped and drugged, people are making decisions.
What do you mean?
People are making decisions. If they say, hey, you know, I got this role available for this movie, this and this and that, you know, and, you know, Susie Q over here.
That's what I mean. Things like that.
You're making a decision. Are you going to do what they're alluding to, or are you gonna say, no, I don't get down like that? You still making a choice, but the person still subjectively can say, I felt like I didn't have a choice at the time.
Let's say you already got the role, and then the behavior starts. Well, yeah, I already got the job, but I didn't know I had to do X, Y, Z to be able to keep this job. So now I'm having to do this sexual improper thing, sexual
assault.
But if you're holding this over someone's head, and if you are, like it says, coercion and fraud and all these other things, I mean, hell, you can be charged with both of them: sexual assault, sex trafficking. Shit, line them up.
I don't think you get what I'm saying. I like what I've said, and I think Denise is saying too.
I do.
When people keep loosely using that term, they're numbing our ears and eyes as far as what it is. They're dumbing it down, and what Denise was saying, maybe they're doing it on purpose because they don't want us to focus on the real issue that's going on. That's that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too. I think, again, there are levels, and it's so nuanced, right? But I think even if I already got a job and a person was like, well, you got to do this if you want to stay on the job, it's still my choice at the end of the day.
Right.
Is this person wrong? Yes. But if I consent to their proposition,
that's sexual fucking abuse. You were coerced. You were threatened with XYZ if you didn't XYZ. Nothing about that is natural. Nothing about that is consensual. You were forced to make a bad decision based on a bad offering. That's coercion. That's abuse. That's manipulation.
You keep saying force, though. You can be coerced, you can be manipulated, but being forced is...
Yeah, she was forced to make a decision.
Okay, and the decision could be, I'm gonna sue you. You're gonna see my lawyer.
But you know,
I'm gonna quit my job.
Oftentimes that doesn't generally happen.
I know that,
goes with
but we
cannot, because I can't lose my fucking job.
But Nikki, do you know? I say it like this. Do you know how disrespectful that is? In my opinion, it's disrespectful for people to say that they didn't have a choice when they really did have a choice, versus the people who got in the situation and literally did not have a choice.
Yes, but it's also disrespectful to hear you say it's disrespectful for a person to say that they had a choice when they may have physically, spiritually, and emotionally felt like, I don't have a fucking choice. I don't.
I'm saying.
Yes, you could easily walk away, absolutely. And I'm all about that shit. Sue them, take them to court, tell somebody, let the people know, woo, expose they ass, sure enough. But there are some people who can't do that because if I don't have this job tomorrow, I can't pay my bills. I'm homeless.
I'm saying for the person who was physically dominated and it was taken by force for them, for someone to say, someone threatened me with losing a role or losing my job and I didn't have a choice. You trying to convey your lack of choice to their lack of choice, I think that's disrespectful. I'm not talking about you. I'm saying anybody who says I didn't have a choice. And they looking like, no, you did have a choice. I didn't have a choice. You actually had a choice.
I think there should be different terms
to it. Yeah,
I think there's
levels to it.
I think there should be different terms for those two things. Like I don't think it falls under the same category because I feel like at the end of the day, some stuff really is a choice and some stuff is not. Now you may have had your back up against the wall and felt like you didn't have a choice, but you can still choose. If you're in a situation where you're like trigger warning, being held down or drugged or like you physically like you don't have a choice versus saying I'm going to do this for this opportunity. It's like, I'll say it like this. If I proposition someone hey, do this thing and I'll give you this, for the person who's making the proposition, how are you supposed to interpret that this person is not consenting because this is something they really want to do versus consenting because they feel like they don't have a choice? And I feel like that's a fine line. I just feel like that's some kind of weird fine line where it's like, when do you get to decide if this was something you did because you wanted the opportunity and that's just what you wanted to do, and then this is something that I felt like I didn't have a choice to do? Who gets to decide which is which? You know what I'm saying?
I understand. I agree with that 100%.
Because there's probably times where people are in that situation who feel no way. Let's get it. I feel no way about this. We can go to the bathroom right now. This doesn't bother me. I do it for free. Like there are probably tons of people who have absolutely no problem with being propositioned, and this is no issue for them. And then there are the others who feel completely different. And how do we know which is which?
I agree.
Nikki, you got some thoughts. You're thinking about some stuff.
Yeah, don't motherfucking come coerce me. I'm the wrong one. That's all I know. So
Hold on.
I just make it very fucking clear with everybody I come across. I am not here to fucking play with you.
Nikki, hold on. Why are you the wrong one?
Because I don't need to know levels. I don't need to know X, Y's, and Z's. If you have forced me to make a decision I would never have had to make had it not been for the position that you put me in, that's a fucking problem. So if I could have been just fine in my position and fine in my role and fine in my this and fine in my that and fine in my whatever, and then you come along and you throw a whole fucking wrench in it by inserting your power into my position of some sort, which then forces me, like the vaccine, forcing people to take a jab in order to keep a job. Yeah, of course you had a choice, but so many people didn't, and I understand that to be a lot of people's decision-making skill in that situation. They didn't want to lose their job. They couldn't afford to be unemployed. Blah.
That's a good point, Nikki.
If you're forcing me to make a fucking decision based on something I would not have naturally had to deal with, and it involves coercion and fraud and a part of my body autonomy somehow being up for fucking debate, I'm definitely the wrong one.
Why are you the wrong one?
Because I'm not going to tolerate that.
Hold on.
I'm blowing the motherfucking whistle on you from the first impropriety.
Nikki!
You're not finna get 6, 20, 90, 30 years in the industry, but when everybody participates in that behavior...
You're just speaking of the choice that we're talking about.
That's not a choice. If your position of power has caused me to have to make a choice based on your position of power being inserted into my life, that's a problem.
You yourself just said, I ain't the one.
I'm not.
The reason you ain't the one, because they can give you that proposition and it ain't going down the way that they want it to go.
It's not even that it's not going down the way you want it to go. I'm going to be a
So
fucking problem for you. You are not going to be able to treat other people, because if this is what you're doing to me, you've done it to plenty of people before me. You just landed on the wrong fucking word.
You're speaking of choice.
It's not. It is a choice because you have to make a decision.
Right.
But if you force me to have to make this choice based on your fucked up ways, welcome.
That's what we're saying.
It's a choice. So we're gonna rumble.
Choice.
And more people need to be rumbled. More folk need to be fucking
You're
rumbled.
agreeing with me, but you don't realize it. You're speaking of a choice. You didn't have to go along with what they tried to coerce you to do.
But the second that you made me have to even choose to not go along with what you want to do is the problem.
Of course it's a problem.
So that's why I'm not the right one. That's why we're going to have to rumble.
What I'm saying is, what someone says a choice, I didn't have a choice. So that same scenario that you just said, and you like, I'm the wrong one, another person gonna say, I didn't have a choice. And somebody else who actually didn't have a choice gonna look at them like, yes, you did have a choice.
Coercion
look
works.
at what Nikki did.
That coercion worked.
Look at what Nikki did. She said she wasn't the one. You did.
The vaccine mandates coerced everybody who got them, who didn't want to take them. I didn't have a choice.
Did you take the jab? Did you take it?
Hell, fuck no.
You choice.
Because I didn't have somebody coercing my decision. I didn't have somebody measuring my decision, weighting my decision. I didn't have somebody saying, Nick, you're not going to get a job tomorrow. You're going to lose your benefits and your pension. If you don't put this shit into your body, you got to do this or you're going to be without all those things. Well, goddamn. I guess I have to make a really fucked up decision based on some really fucked up information that none of this was anything I naturally had to do it. That's coercion.
No, that doesn't mean that choices are not easy.
Kyrie
Irving lost.
Right, but it wasn't.
Kyrie Irving lost about $30 million by choosing not to get the vaccine.
He
made the choice and he didn't do it.
Up. That's coercion.
It can
that's
be
fucking coercion. There's a part of that that is even,
but it's still a choice.
And there's a manipulation and a power dynamic involved in that. All part of coercion and trafficking.
But do not say you can't. When people say I don't have a choice, it's not the same thing. That's all I'm saying. There's some people like Denise talking about drugged, forcefully taken by your will.
Sure.
That's a different level of not having a choice. That's all I'm saying.
But there's more to not being able. There's more to it than just physical restraint. There's emotional restraint.
You can't say a person didn't have a choice when you yourself came across scenarios and you like, nah, I ain't doing it, and you made a different choice. If you were working, say you were working at HEB or you were working at a car dealership, something, and somebody said you got to take this jab in order to keep your job, would you have taken it?
You know I'm not. You know I'm taking another job.
Choice.
But that's how I'm built. You might not be built that way, and you go get the fucking jab because you can't let your family down. The next person might not be built that way, and they don't have a life set up to where they can do that shit.
It's effed up, but you cannot act like you saying you don't have a choice is not the same as someone who actually doesn't have a choice. That's all I'm saying. Going back to the sex trafficking thing.
I'm just going back to
I hate when everybody try to lump
disrespect and saying a person does or doesn't have a choice.
That's exactly why I'm saying
if your coercion is still forcing me to have to make a decision in a very unsavory situation in which I did not bring into myself, you brought this to me.
You still got a choice.
That is where choice has been manipulated, and that doesn't seem to be a very genuine, authentic choice. That is a weighted choice. That's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair.
No, I'm not trying to say that. All I'm saying is I'm going back to the sex trafficking thing.
Right.
So if we want to say sexual assault, we want to say certain things, inappropriateness, fine. But reserve that thing for people who actually are being abused and really don't have a choice.
Right, but see, that's my point. That's my point, though. Is it ain't just people who are abused, kidnapped, and stolen.
Spirit of the law, Nikki.
Well,
that's what it was designed for.
Spirit my ass. If you coercing somebody and you are emotionally, physically, spiritually abusing somebody into making decisions, your ass gonna go to jail too.
I feel like people who agree with your sentiment are numbing and dumbing down the actual.
I think we're just broadening the spectrum of who might fucking apply.
There's certain things I don't
Who
think
might
should be
apply.
broadened out. I don't like,
I
again,
think-
with the Amber Alerts.
Well, like we said
With
last
the Amber
week.
Alerts, you lose sensitivity when you know 75% of it is somebody's dad who didn't bring them back in time on a visitation. It's dumbing it down.
I think
when
it
you
depends
lump
on
all
how
of that
you,
in,
I
then
think
it dumbs
depends
it
on how
down.
you hear the word. I mean, for
I
some people,
think-
obviously, it's gonna be an issue, but I think for others, it's just a matter of including other behaviors in the word trafficking, so that it isn't just the kidnapping aspect of trafficking. There's actually a lot more people who are behaving in these disgusting,
Why do you
vile
think they're
ways.
using the term trafficking, Nikki?
I mean,
It-
it started with human trafficking, and then it's just kind of gradually
But
turned
when
into
it
the
comes
others.
to domestic stuff, Diddy, R. Kelly, and whatever you say about R. Kelly, what they got him for wasn't a video that was back in the early 2000s. They got him in the court of public opinion. The girl he was messing with was 18, 19 at the time. So again, what are they doing? It's trafficking. If you look up the sentencing on trafficking versus something that's considered sexual assault, they're two totally different things.
Sure, sure.
You can use it the same way as drug possession versus drug distribution,
Right,
or intent to sell.
right,
Two
right.
totally different things.
Sure.
But if somebody try to hit you on this one, it's because they're trying to give you a longer sentence or scare you to the point that you plead or you settle or you want to pay out some type of way. They're grossly misusing the use of the infraction in the first.
I mean, I don't deny that the use of the word can certainly incite a certain emotion in people. So, of course, to go along with social engineering, if you want to elicit a certain type of emotional response from, let's say, the masses or a large group of people, then you use words like sex trafficking. Like, I get the power of the words themselves.
Wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Which goes back to it goes back to the whole concept of social engineering, which is like, why now? Like, to Nikki's point, she's like, you know what? I think they're trying to broaden and like educate us more on actually some of these things fall into this category. I think, Q, to your point, you're saying because it's being broadened and there are so many shades of gray, there are people who are going to take advantage of that. And so I agree. I like both concepts because it's like, actually, we do need to start sweeping up a lot of people who fall into these categories who are abusing people and understanding what abuse can look like. But then also at the same time, now that we're doing it, let's actually like get down to the nuts and bolts of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that people can't just go, oh yeah, he did it to me too, Chad. I need 100K. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like a lot of times when people are making movements and people are doing this from a sincere place because they want to see change, there's always another group hanging in the background that's like, this is my opportunity to get something out of this. And I think that's kind of what this conversation is about. It's
Denise,
like
so do you think that's by mistake, like Denise? Do you think that's by mistake?
What's by mistake?
That someone's gonna fucking hijack and hitch the back of the wagon. Of course not. Those people always exist.
That the highlighted sex trafficking cases are these terrible domestic disputes by celebrities. Meanwhile, we don't focus on the real stuff that goes on in front of our face every single day. You think that's just like us being neglectful, or you think it's an agenda behind that?
There's an agenda. It's just like the same thing with when the government brought drugs in, but they were focusing on the corner boys and trying to give the corner boys time and then put them in jail and make that a whole thing. And then the whole thing was you basically feeding prisons all these people because private prisons are money, and those people are probably like the same people who are probably funding certain super PACs, so you could get certain things passed through or whatever. It's the same thing. It's like the government brought drugs in and focused on the corner boys and made it seem like it was the corner boys' fault. I feel like a lot of this, what we're seeing in the news about Diddy and whoever, which if you're doing fucked up shit, goodbye, go to jail. No one's defending that. But at the end of the day, I'm sure our government is doing a lot more trafficking than the here and there that we're seeing. And so it's like, I hate that we haven't talked about that as much. Not we as in freethinkers, but we as in like there was a time where you would see billboards. Like when I lived in Baton Rouge was in the top 10 sex trafficked cities in the country. And you would see stuff like that. You would see stats, you would see numbers and things like that. And now it's just kind of like you don't really hear about it. And so it is interesting that the focus has been on this one person who may have, let's say all 100 people who came forth were telling the truth. There's so many other stories and people that are not receiving this kind of attention, and there's nothing being done when it comes to like the macro issue that we're facing. And I think that is intentional. But both of y'all are right. But I think both of y'all are focusing on two different sides of the same string.
No,
I mean, you know, I'm all about calling out bad behavior, and holding people accountable for bad behavior. I'm never gonna run from that. Like, so, you know, and that's a very generic statement because there's obviously levels to a lot of different things. But man, bad behavior is bad fucking behavior, man.
Nikki, what I will say to you is, and I know that's who you are, and I agree with you. I will say the danger of that, if you get too comfortable generalizing and saying, oh, bad person, bad things need to happen to you, so forth. Even a bad person who does a bad thing, our government and our laws still need to be held accountable. Just because they're a bad person who did a bad thing, the government don't get to skate by their responsibilities and how they operate and how they charge, how they prosecute, how they defend, whatever the case is. You still got to do it right.
Right.
And if you don't do it right, then you do get called to the table. And I do not agree with even a bad or guilty person being put in jail through an improper process. You got to hold everybody accountable just because, well, I know they bad anyway, so it don't matter how they got them as long as they got them. Hell no, no fair.
I don't.
But
no,
a lot of people take that mindset.
I don't support that.
It don't matter. Bad person, however you get them, then you just got them. The justice is served. No, it needs to be done correctly.
I don't.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying the improper process is that they're putting too much sauce on the charge, so that they. Yes. It's like what would happen with. Kind of like with OJ was like, oh, we couldn't get him on this, but we're gonna give him the max on.
He's guilty. Just show the facts. You don't have to plant evidence. You don't have to do all this extra stuff. And if you do that, then he needs and deserves to get off because that's an unjust trial.
Sure.
And now you're gonna have to try him another. You're gonna have to do it civilly. You're gonna have to do another trial that's done the right way. But you can't sit there and prosecute him when the standard is the government, the state, the law to do the right thing. If they don't do it, then no, we can't just say, well, he probably did and he was a bad person anyway and he said he wasn't black, so whatever.
Right.
F him. Right. No. That's not okay. That ain't cool. That's why I keep telling everybody, cool I do not like Diddy. I don't like him at all. But the way they going about this, I do not like it.
I mean, what happens is like something that Mark Lamont Hill was bringing up is like, once you allow there not to be like a fair, speedy trial or whatever the case may be for one person, you've allowed it for everyone else. So it's like a soft line.
And I don't have $100 million to fight the case. So if they do that to me, then my ass is just out of here.
Yeah.
You and I don't have these same connections.
Yeah.
And once we allow them to do that to that person, it's so much easier for them to do it to us. That's my whole thrust of my issue with all of this stuff that I've been seeing on the last 10 years.
I think the part that is like disheartening about it is in the case where people have been assaulted, people have been taken advantage of by him, people have been drugged or raped or whatever, in the case for those people that are actually encountering that, it sucks if the justice system is not being fair to him, because who wants to spend time defending someone who's done all that when you would much rather focus on the people who have really been harmed?
Oh, so it's like these people trying to make a name for themselves. They don't care about
that. But not every person is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe, like, some of the stuff with Cassie, I'm like, Lord have mercy, G. Like, I believe there's some people who really weren't, who are not just trying to make a buck. There are some people who probably have really been taken advantage of, but because there are so many people who are trying to make a quick buck, because people are not being held accountable, because the phrase is believe all victims, but you don't even know who really is a victim or not yet. So how do you get to that space? But like, there's just so much where people are not being held accountable that this whole thing is muddy. It's just so muddy because there's so many people that are not being held accountable for their actions. Yes. And he's one of them.
Well, that's my biggest issue.
I agree.
That's my biggest issue with
he needs to be held accountable. DA needs to be held accountable. The state needs to be held accountable.
I mean, we need to start running through Epstein's list. I mean, there's so many other child predators. There's so many other sex predators. There's so many other sex traffickers. There's so many other kidnappers. I mean, there's so many of these other high-profile politicians, lawyers, judges. There's so many people in positions of power because that's how you coerce people. There's so many people that we fucking know, especially with this whole Diddy shit having the lid blown off. Like, this really confirms the shit that you may have kind of been thinking, but you didn't really want to jump on the board with all this whole pizza shit and the kids and the like, it's not possible. There's no fucking way they're doing this. But like, yeah, there is. So I'm okay with whatever they're doing to Diddy because I believe that whatever they're saying he did, that he probably did a portion of. My problem is that they're also not holding all the other people in power accountable too. And I don't think that Diddy should be like the fall guy. I don't think that the black guy should always be the one to fucking take one for everybody. They need to start popping the top off of all these fucking white men and all these JEUISH people and all these other organizations who are equally complicit, if not more and worse than Diddy. So I've been saying from day one, like even like back in the R. Kelly days, man, like fucking call them all out, make them all be accountable.
Full circle. Let's go back to social engineering, like we talked about. We say that in theory, we believe it. But we don't give any energy to it. We only give energy to the celebrities. And we've been engineered to pay attention to the like even with George Floyd, as terrible as that was, you know how many people died like that or worse than that 6 months before and 6 months after that? We don't really look at that. Like, go back to where was it, Mississippi or Atlanta? Like all of the Mississippi or Louisiana, one of them. The jail. They over here killing people and putting them in graves and ain't even telling the families.
Mississippi. Mississippi.
What are we really doing about that? Nothing. I've seen they had a whole task force come in just because these two black people in Mississippi, they moved into a neighborhood in the county that wasn't black friendly, and they came in, handcuffed them, sodomized them, shot them in the face, and the guy ended up still living. Like, this is still on TV. They're actually going through the trial right now. We don't care about it because it doesn't get the media attention, and if other people ain't paying attention about it, it's not as important. It's important to us, but not really for us to do nothing about it.
Well, that's where choice comes into play. That's
engineering.
Where choice comes into play because we can care, we can do something, we can try to hold people accountable.
I go back to social engineering.
But they know that most of us are not in it for the long haul.
I told my best friend a long time ago, this was back when the Trayvon Martin stuff and everybody would start marching and all that. I told him a long time ago. He's like, oh man, this is about to be some change coming. I said, there ain't no change coming around. Man, what you talking about? I see what they doing. I said, as soon as the media gets tired of this story and they stop talking about it, it's going to go away and it ain't gonna be a story no more.
Like, case in point, I've been talking about the fucking ports closing for about a week now. I leave my TV on the news every day so that the dog has sound at the house whenever we leave. So like the TV's just on the news all the fucking time. So I hear the news all the time. I didn't hear a peep about these port closures from the news until like 5 a.m. news this morning. And I was like, And now the feeds are people who all of a sudden are like, oh wow, when did this happen? Where did this come from? And I'm like, where the fuck are you people at? But if you only get your information from the news.
Nikki, but the crazy thing about that is, if the news stops talking about it tomorrow, people gonna stop talking about it too.
Well, this they may not, because the toilet papers is being taken from the shelves and the milks is being taken from the shelves. So people won't be able to stop talking about it because they're going to be affected by it.
If the news stop talking about it, like, do we really know why groceries is 75% higher than they was a few years? We don't know. We learned this high as hell. We don't like this.
Because they can. That's what my dad always said.
But
they can.
If there was,
and we're gonna pay it. Why? Because we're gonna pay it.
If there was a reason behind it, say ports closed 3 years ago and it cost everything, or there was an oil spill, or there was some type of embargo. Mm-hmm. As long as the news not talking about it, we not gonna talk about it.
Well, that's by design.
We just gonna talk about exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
The news is by design.
Social engineering is by design.
Yeah, television programming. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we had an hour 50. I ain't mean to go out. It was like 1:25. I was like, oh, we about to wrap this up.
It was a much more
I went on a rant
conversation, though. It was a lot more peaceful than last week.
You think so?
Yes. Last week was crunk as fuck.
It wasn't that bad. That's probably you probably felt the heat coming at you. That's why you felt like
you literally said to me, I don't know if you remember this. You literally said to me, and if y'all ever come on a Tuesday night, like
what I say,
we be turning up on Tuesdays, all right. So when we say it is like, it's still free thinkers. Don't get me wrong, but like it's we're not all live, right? So sometimes there's adult beverages and libations and things around. So we just get in a real comfortable space.
You got me wondering, what did I say? You
said to me, and I quote, you were like, Nikki, I'm just gonna pick on you tonight. And I was like, no, the fuck you are not. And y'all picked on me all fucking night long. And at the end of the night, I was like, at the end of the night, you were like, you won't even let me talk. You goddamn right, I'm done. We're not talking about this no more.
I don't know. And so first of all, the reason I did say I'm gonna pick on you, I did that on purpose, because if I kept asking everybody around, then the conversation keeps scattering all over the place. I wanted to stay on a point of social engineering, so I'm like, let's use one particular person to kind of put them on the stand and have them.
He says, so you think you're better than everybody else? I was like, no, I don't think that at all. You don't think you think you're above social engineering? No.
So the thing about me, if somebody said, all right, Q, we about to pick on you, then I'd be like, ooh, let's go. I'm ready. Like,
I was ready. Shit. I stayed ready. But after about 30 minutes, you and Smack, I was like, you know what? I'm good.
What?
I'm good. Both y'all can have y'all.
I wouldn't. Somebody say, we about to pick on you now. I'd be like, let's go. Let's get it. I'm ready. I thought you would enjoy it. I would have loved that.
I don't think Smack and Q at the same time.
And them two was agreeing with each other. So that's the only time they fucking agree with each other.
How you know Nikki was wrong, because me and Smack was actually agreeing with each other. I'm like, you got me over here agreeing with Smack, and we don't never agree on nothing.
And Smack, when he started getting on the roll, and then he give you all these different stories and scenarios.
So 20 fucking minutes later, I was like, you know what we not finna do? Me.
That's funny.
Where's my food?
Speaking of food, oh my god, them
nachos nachos last week.
Oh my god, woo! I seen a picture of it just a second ago. I was like, oh my god.
It almost hurt my feelings. I had to throw my leftovers away after a couple days. I did. I had a little bit of leftovers, and I meant to get some tortillas because I was going to make them into a taco. But I ended up having to throw a little bit away. It's like the cheese.
I did get some more tortillas, because I ate most of it. Then the next day I got some more tortillas. Well, I took the first, I put it in the air fryer, and then I got some more tortillas, put it back on top, and I finished it. Oh man, it was good.
They were amazing. And like that's, if you feel some type of way, like that we're confrontational or like we're going to be confrontational, like I get it. I fucking get it. But we don't do things with a malicious spirit. Even last week was spirited. It is what it is. However you walk away from that conversation is totally up to you. But like, I
didn't know you were still thinking about that. Why are you still?
Look, Kesha asked me, she's like, you and Q good? I was like, me and Q. it's fucking be good. Shit. And if we not, we'll figure it out. We'll get good. You know what I'm saying? But like, we'll eat some really good seafood nachos and we'll chop it up and everything will be great.
Yeah, no.
But like, you know, like Tuesday, the last Tuesday, man, I don't know if it's just because it's been so long since we've been able to do it in person, but like last Tuesdays to me is like, it's like sacred. I don't know. It is. And I don't know if it's just like the love that we get from Brent making our food. I mean, the things that he makes for us, he doesn't generally make for everybody.
Oh, man.
Like those are like freethinker, like curated items for our Tuesday night. So he, you know, and he likes to cook for us because those aren't things that he generally makes on his menu. So he's like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna make them stuff that nobody eats. Like it is such a good time. Like so many different creatives come out, from poets to rappers to producers to singers to gospel people to, man, it's all the things that Freethinkers really is, but it's just the little handful of us that like commit to coming on Tuesday night. Doesn't matter if it's rain, mosquitoes, sunshine, windy, cold, hot. Like the whole thing about it is like, it's outside, it's beautiful, it's nighttime, it's quiet, it's private, it's fucking safe. Like nobody would even know that we're there if you didn't know, but it is the perfect space for us to be able to have the types of conversations that we have. Spirited, passionate, fucking like, you know,
be loud as we want.
Be loud as hell, and it was loud as hell last week. Like,
I think that's the thing too. It's such a safe space. Like you don't have to worry about, like I can get so passionate because you don't have to worry about anything being taken out of context after you're gone. Like it's like it happened in that moment and that was it.
Well, and you know, it's one of the things that it's taught me how to leave a conversation too. It's taught me how to leave a conversation where I know my emotions are high and not take it necessarily personal, or be able to just fucking decompress, you know, and just listen and hear my thoughts or think my thoughts or feel my thoughts or hear what somebody else's thoughts are, while not stewing in my own shit and feeling like I have to respond all the time, right? You know, like they say, a lot of people fight not to be heard, you know, or when you're fighting, you're not hearing the next person. And so I don't feel like even when we're in spirited conversations that it's a fight per se. And yeah, language does get thrown around. We're fucking grown ups. So if language is offensive to you, then you're just going to have to figure that out. But like, you know, they're just colorful words. They're just colorful words, right? You know, I still don't feel like even in spirited conversations that it's, you know, attacking the next person.
I think it's always, there's maybe, I don't know how long we've been doing this, 7, 8, 10, depending on how, you know, where you look at it. It's only been maybe a handful. I could probably count on one hand, and not even from our main people where I thought that the line of respect was crossed. So no matter how hard we go, there's always respect. That's why you can feel safe no matter how hard you go. Like it's not going to come from a place of disrespect. No, and you don't have to worry about it. And if it ever did, then that's when you don't feel safe, when you feel like there's disrespect. But that's rarely ever been an issue.
And if you do come away from a conversation and you feel some type of way about somebody, and maybe you don't like him as much as you used to because you done seen what their real thoughts is, that's okay. You can do that. Like you have the right to not like people, but you still, if you're coming to these conversations, you're agreeing to engage with all people, right? And you're agreeing to have your, like you said, have your beliefs challenged and tested. But I just think that, like, if you've not been to a last Tuesday and you are here locally, like, you gotta come out to a Tuesday. Like, it's just a different animal, man. And after leaving last week, I was like, I bet you there's not a lot of places that do shit like this. It can't be a whole lot of conversation, folks. No. Like, there could have easily been a bar fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the right settings, there could have been some glasses being thrown or people's feelings getting involved. You know,
not but like, it's bar fight.
It's just not, because everybody was just emotional and passionate about how they felt about what we were talking about.
About the social engineering. That is what was so passionate about the social engineering? What aspect of that garnered
Nikki
much
didn't
passion?
realize that she's a victim of
Am I
social
starting
engineering,
something?
just like everybody else. She's in denial. Nikki's in denial. That's what it is.
No, that's not what it is.
That's what it is. She's in denial.
No. We were talking about Diddy last week. So you know how I feel about some shit. You know how they be feeling about some shit. So it just, we had a moment of clash, and nobody was, willing to not be heard. And it's okay. It was a great place for that to take place, because at the end of the day, like, nobody hurt each other, like, nobody was physically hurt, like, physically or, verbally attacked, like, at least I don't think so, but I don't feel like anybody was. And, you're amongst certain people, there's just certain ways that dialogue's gonna go, like...
Yeah.
My Ivory, my sister, I had a conversation with her, and this was a while back. This was back during COVID days. Things were real spicy back then. Everybody was feeling different type of ways or whatever.
Oh, so good.
So it was super spicy. You talking about the habanero spicy. But I started kind of thinking, like, do we need to redo certain? Because some people was crossing over the edge a little bit. And it was like, do we need to kind of reevaluate how we doing this or doing that? Then my sister was like, no, don't. She was like, I'm a part of a lot of other groups, and they try to do the kumbaya and she's like, it's boring.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find people who get a part of a group, and if there is no
friction,
or even people bouncing ideas off of one another, it's like people will lose interest because there's just nothing. That she's like, don't do that, because I've seen a lot of groups and they start off all right, and they just, if there's nothing there where people are not free to really speak or refute or rebut, she's like, it gets real boring real fast. I'm like, okay.
Well, we've always maintained, that our space is not for everybody, and we're okay with that, but for those who it's for, or for those who are like entertaining this idea of like out of the box thinking, man, come to a Tuesday.
If you want to come somewhere where you won't be canceled, but you gotta get some shit off your chest, come to Freethinkers.
Right? Where you won't get canceled,
better yet,
right?
No. When you get canceled is when we all gonna get canceled, because I certainly feel like our time is coming. So.
Oh no! Don't be putting that out there like that.
I wholeheartedly believe, but which is also good. I think that's why it's good that we already we have a live in-person routine back in the mix, because
in the event they do kick us, we got our shit already set up.
Listen, I told you I like to project. I see that.
I feel like it would be hard to cancel us, because I feel like it's not because we don't all agree. That it is a debate. Like, how do you cancel a bunch of people who are like, well, I think this,
Denise,
well, I think that. Like, how do you cancel that?
Denise, I'm gonna tell you, the only reason we not canceled right now is because we still under the radar.
You think so?
Absolutely. That's the only reason.
You think so?
Once we actually break the plane and start getting big and notoriety, oh yeah, it's gonna happen. It's the same. It's.
Can you imagine us on like a mainstream platform?
It's,
like, what would happen if we actually got on a mainstream platform and we did a whole fucking episode with no holds barred? I think we do a pretty good job of being politically correct, though, in most spaces.
It's not even about being political.
Being able to objectively identify, all three sides of certain situations. I don't think it's about being
politically correct. It's about how many feathers do you have the potential to ruffle?
Right. God forbid anybody follow.
Even if we stay politically correct, if we're not saying that, if we're saying things that's going to force people to think, and there's enough eyes and ears on us, and where other people are starting to think, cancel.
Right. 46,000 dock workers.
They will, Nikki. They will bring up an episode that we did 5 years ago.
Right.
Think about, go back to Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was ready to host the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought up a joke that he told like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And tried to get him to crawl on his hands and knees and ask for forgiveness for something that he said 10 years ago.
I remember that.
So, I mean.
And I respect him for saying he did his initial apology, but he wasn't about to do an apology tour.
Right.
I respect that from him, especially because he's very commercial.
Right. Which is risky for people like him. Especially
but
given that
but
topic.
he owns a lot of what he does. That's where
Yeah.
Kevin Hart can talk his shit. Ownership.
Yeah.
All right, 203. You got anything else, Denise, before we get out of here?
Nah, y'all. I mean, just keep paying attention to things. If you're noticing a shift in everyone's posts, all the memes, all the funny videos, if they're all starting to tell similar stories, pay attention to that. Pay attention to how it's affecting your mental health. Pay attention to how it's affecting your relationships with other people. Pay attention to how it's affecting how you interpret the world and how you socialize with other people. So just be aware of what is being pushed to you at all times and ask questions. What they say, believe half of what you see, and what is it? What's the phrase?
It's something, half of what you see and like something of what
Half
you hear, like nothing of what you hear or some shit.
Yeah. Just
Right.
ask questions. Ask questions. Like, you know, you pay even now, so I'll say this and I'll go. My mom sent me something with Denzel talking. In the beginning of him talking.
It wasn't him talking?
It was him talking. And then when they wanted
I saw
to push
one where it wasn't him talking, but go ahead.
Yeah, the first part, literally like the first 5 words was him on video talking. And then the rest of it was AI Denzel. And there was no more video of him speaking. Right. It was just all this other stuff.
I saw that.
Even little small stuff like that. Be aware. And then once you notice that this thing is not real, ask yourself why they would make something not real, but they would want you to have Denzel giving you advice about how men are. Because you trust Uncle Denzel. So they use Uncle Denzel to sell you an idea. Ask yourself what idea they're trying to sell you. But anyways, that's my rant for tonight.
I saw that. I gotta watch. I'm like, that ain't him. Man, come on. Get out of here.
Well, even the Justin Bieber song that they AI'd to like the Diddy shit, it was like, if you didn't know that was like not him doing it, like you would think that this was actually his video, his voice, his words, his lyrics. And then if that was the case, there'd be like no way that he could have actually written this song. It'd been on an album and nobody fucking said anything. But then it's like, oh my God, this is fake. This is totally AI. It's like, this is so dangerous. You have to assume that you're, I mean, we don't have to, but we have to identify that we've been manipulated, or we're being manipulated every fucking day. I mean, social media, television, whatever, we're being manipulated every fucking day. But like, we're being super manipulated today. Like, we are under attack with manipulation in every fucking form. So, to add to Denise's sentiment, I'm gonna go one further and say, question everything too. Question everything. Like, just taking what you can and process a little bit and do a little research and get some objective and some subjective sources of information and try to attach yourself to some folks who might think a little bit out the box, because we are under attack right now. And I think it's only going to get worse because it's election season. So they're going to hit us with so much bullshit in the next 4 fucking weeks. Oh my God. Think about how much shit has happened in just the last 7 days. Do what?
Mm-hmm. The debate was tonight, so who knows what we're going to get off.
Q's had it on, and I've been kind of eyeballing it a few times, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I'm going to go watch this later on tonight and see what they sounded like, because I'm not invested in this in regards to who I want to win or not win. I just want to know what the fuck their position is, because one of them is going to be it. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to know what they're talking about, but like, oh, yeah. We're under attack from every direction.
Ooh-wee. This made me think. Whenever you only have 2 choices, oftentimes that means you don't have any choices.
You don't.
Which is Nikki's point earlier, but we won't
I was just going to say, thank you. I was just going to fucking say, that's pretty much what that is. Like, you don't have a choice. Like, yeah. So bipartisan, eat a dick. Like, no.
I think I want to do a show about that later, talk about just the ripple effects. Like, cashless society. What will be the ripple effects from that?
Shit, next week, let's do it. Cashless society.
Ooh.
Let's go.
If we did away with the 2-party system, what would be the ripple effects from that? So we could do. It's a lot of. We could kind of go down a whole lot of a list of things like what would be the ripple effects.
Should we do a show called Ripple Effects then?
Yeah, I think so. I
Okay.
think that'd be good.
Ripple Effects.
They've been playing with it already. Was social media shutting down and stuff like? What would be the ripple effects?
Well, Verizon was
if
down
everything
apparently
went black.
yesterday. Like
Yeah.
all, like so many different states. Like Verizon had they like phones weren't even registered to network type shit. So how many times have they played with your cellular access? How many times has your internet access been completely power outage? You know, for a day on end, and it's like, holy shit, this is not
What if
bouncing
power
back.
went out for 2 weeks? What would the ripple effect be like? This.
The ripple effect.
I
lot of
love
shit.
the ripple effect. I think we should do that next week. I think.
And look
that
at here,
would-
between now and next
I'm with
Tuesday, that's 7 days of whatever the fuck's gonna happen between this debate tonight, with Diddy this week coming up, with the port situation, with this fucking money that they just sent over to Ukraine, with this Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, there's
people
more
don't
money
have
they
no.
sent over?
Oh, they sent over like another couple hundred billion, like today. But then, like in Asheville, North Carolina, there was an interview where they interviewed Biden, asked him some questions about getting some more aid to over in North Carolina, where it's just in
He's
really
still
bad
talking?
shape.
I
This
ain't even know
fool
he's
was
talking.
like, "Oh yeah, we've done all we can, we've given enough," and it's like, but there's like no, like the infrastructure's been washed out, like. It's just so bad. It's just so bad. So there's so many things that just even in 7 days, Denise, if we stay on the course in which we're on, there will be some ripple effect conversational
about
changes
playing
in
in
the next
somebody's
7 days.
face.
Huh?
Talk about playing in somebody's face.
Oh my God, playing in somebody's
So
face.
yeah, the next everybody come up 2 or 3
Ripple effect.
Ripple
Yeah.
effects.
Topics that what would be the ripple effects from that thing.
So that's next week. It was all right.
There
That's
we go.
it. We got our
There we
topic
go.
for next week.
All right, y'all. Thank everybody
All right,
for
y'all.
tuning in.
Good
Appreciate
night,
it.
everybody.
Good night,
Have a nice
y'all.
evening.